The most dangerous place for a dream is not failure. It is comfort. Dreams rarely die in explosions. They don't collapse in a single dramatic moment. They fade quietly, politely, while life keeps moving. They die while you're busy being responsible, while you're waiting for the right time, while you tell yourself you'll come back to it someday, as if someday were a real place on the calendar. Most people don't betray their dreams loudly. They betray them softly, one compromise at a time. A dream begins as a whisper in the mind, a quiet, knowing that there is more inside you than what you are currently living. It comes without permission. It doesn't ask if you're ready. It simply appears, full of possibility, full of promise. And for a moment, you feel alive, awake, dangerous to the ordinary world. But then the world speaks back. It speaks through doubt disguised as logic, through fear disguised as advice, through voices that say, be realistic, play it safe, don't aim too high. And slowly, the dream is pushed into a corner of the mind, wrapped in excuses, buried under routines. Napoleon Hill understood this before most people ever questioned it. He knew that the graveyard of potential is not filled with people who failed. It is filled with people who never decided. People who allowed indecision to drain the life from their vision. People who confused caution with wisdom and delay with patience. A dream cannot survive in a mind that refuses to choose it, and so it waits. Quietly, as days turn into years, and years turn into regrets. Most dreams do not die in a single dramatic moment. They don't collapse in fire or fade in a storm. They die quietly, slowly, politely. They die when the alarm rings and you choose comfort over conviction. They die when you tell yourself, just for today, that it can wait. They die when the world's noise becomes louder than your inner voice, and you begin to trade your future for approval, safety, and small certainty. A dream begins as a whisper, fragile but alive. It asks for belief before proof, effort before reward, discipline before applause. And this is where most people turn away. Not because they lack talent, but because they lack endurance of faith. They want guarantees before commitment. They want validation before action. Yet every great achievement in history was born in uncertainty. Edison did not know the light would turn on. Lincoln did not know the nation would heal. Carnegie did not know steel would obey his vision. They moved anyway. The quiet death of dreams happens when people confuse motion with progress. They stay busy, but avoid the work that scares them. They learn endlessly, but never decide. They prepare forever, but never begin. Comfort becomes the enemy wearing the mask of reason. Fear learns to speak in logic, and doubt pretends to be wisdom. But the dream that survives is different. It is guarded fiercely. It is fed daily with action, even when no one is watching. It is protected from cynics, including the one in your own mind. It grows through discipline, through deliberate thought, through the refusal to surrender your vision to temporary emotion. A living dream demands something of you. It demands that you rise when it would be easier to remain asleep. It demands that you act when quitting feels justified. And if you choose that path, if you decide that your dream will not die quietly, you discover a truth few ever learn. Persistence gives birth to power, and faith, sustained by action, turns imagination into destiny. Most dreams do not die in a moment of drama. They fade in silence. They are not murdered by failure, but slowly starved by delay, by doubt, by the quiet voice that says, not today. And each time that voice wins, the dream grows weaker, until one day it no longer speaks at all. A dream lives on attention. It breathes through action. When you ignore it, it does not protest. It waits. And waiting is where most people mistake patience for wisdom. But there is a difference between waiting with purpose and waiting out of fear. One is strategic. The other is surrender dressed as responsibility. Look closely at the lives of those who achieved greatness. Edison did not wait until conditions were perfect. He acted while the world laughed. Lincoln did not wait until confidence appeared. He acted while doubt surrounded him. Carnegie did not wait for permission. He acted while uncertainty pressed against his back. Their dreams stayed alive because they fed them daily with effort, with belief, with motion. A dream is not fragile, but it is demanding. It asks for discipline when motivation disappears. It asks for courage when comfort tempts you to quit. It asks you to choose growth over approval, progress over excuses, purpose over ease. And here is the truth most never accept. Your dream does not require the world's agreement. It only requires your commitment. The moment you stop negotiating with your fear, the dream regains its strength. The moment you act before you feel ready, it begins to breathe again. Do not wait for the perfect time. Do not wait for confidence. Do not wait for certainty. Dreams survive through movement. One decision. One disciplined step. One day where you refuse to abandon what was placed inside you for a reason. Keep it alive. Feed it. Protect it. Because dreams do not die loudly. They die when you forget why you started. And they live again the moment you remember who you are. Dreams do not die with noise or rebellion. They fade quietly, politely, almost invisibly. They disappear in the small moments when you choose comfort over courage, when you tell yourself there will be time later, when you trade the fire in your chest for the safety of familiarity. No one announces the death of a dream. There is no funeral. There is only silence and inner, knowing that something sacred has been neglected for too long. Most people believe dreams are killed by failure, but failure rarely destroys anything meaningful. Failure teaches, sharpens, redirects. What truly suffocates a dream is neglect. It is the daily decision to not decide, the habit of waiting for permission. The slow erosion caused by doubt repeated so often begins to sound like truth. Dreams die when belief weakens, not because the world is cruel, but because the mind stops defending what it once declared sacred. Napoleon Hill taught that every great achievement begins with a burning desire, but desire alone is fragile if it is not protected by definiteness of purpose. A dream without clarity becomes a wish. A wish without action becomes regret. And regret is the quietest grave a dream can fall into. The world does not steal your vision. You surrender it inch by inch when you stop feeding it with thought, discipline, and faith. Yet the dream never truly leaves you. It waits, patient, persistent. It whispers when the noise of distraction fades. It reminds you late at night that you were meant for more than survival, more than routine, more than living someone else's expectations. That whisper is not guilt, it is guidance. It is the call to remember who you decided to be before fear began negotiating your future. To keep a dream alive, you must treat it as a living thing. You must protect it from disbelief. Nourish it with daily action, and defend it against the voices, both internal and external, that mock what they cannot understand. Dreams require courage not once, but repeatedly. And the moment you choose to stand for your vision again, even after years of silence, the dream begins to breathe. Most dreams do not collapse in a single dramatic moment. They fade quietly, like a fire starved of oxygen. One day you still believe, the next day you postpone. One day you are curious, the next day you are busy. And slowly, almost invisibly, the dream retreats into the background of your life, becoming a memory instead of a mission. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they stop deciding. They trade intention for comfort, vision for routine, possibility for predictability. The world does not steal their dream. They hand it over in small, polite compromises. I'll start when the timing is right. I'll try again when things calm down. I'm being realistic. And in the language of realism, the dream is quietly buried. Napoleon Hill warned that drifting is the most dangerous habit a human mind can adopt. Drifting feels harmless because it requires no resistance. It asks nothing of you. It lets days pass without confrontation. But drifting is the slow death of purpose. A dream cannot survive in a mind that refuses to choose. Every great achievement you admire was once fragile. Edison's light burned first in thought before it ever burned in glass. Lincoln's vision lived in isolation long before it reshaped a nation. They did not protect their dreams with perfection. They protected them with persistence. They returned to the idea again and again, even when the world offered no applause. To keep a dream alive, you must revisit it deliberately. You must speak to it when no one is watching. You must act in its direction, even when progress feels invisible. Dreams survive on movement, not certainty. They grow when you honor them with discipline, when you treat them not as fantasies, but as responsibilities entrusted to you. Dreams do not usually die in explosions. They fade in silence, one compromise at a time. They weaken every time you say later, instead of now. Every time comfort is chosen over courage. Every time you listen to a voice that tells you to be realistic instead of relentless. Most people do not abandon their dreams because they are incapable. They abandon them because they stop believing their inner voice deserves obedience. And the moment belief weakens, discipline disappears. And when discipline disappears, the dream begins to starve. Look closely at the lives that never change. You will not find a lack of intelligence or talent. You will find hesitation. You will find minds crowded with borrowed opinions, fears inherited from others, and goals that were never clearly defined. Napoleon Hill warned that the greatest tragedy is not failure, but drifting. Drifting is when you wake up each day reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of building, waiting instead of deciding. A dream cannot survive in a drifting mind. To keep a dream alive, it must be fed daily with decision, with effort, with a burning sense of purpose. It requires you to guard your attention like a fortress, to refuse conversations that poison belief, to say no to distractions that feel harmless but slowly steal your future. Every great builder of history understood this. Edison guarded his vision while the world mocked him. Lincoln held his purpose steady while surrounded by doubt. They were not immune to fear. They were immune to surrender. Your dream does not ask for perfection. It asks for loyalty. It asks that you show up even when progress feels invisible, that you move forward even when applause is absent. The dream stays alive when you choose it repeatedly, especially on the days when quitting feels reasonable. And if you do that, if you protect it, work for it, and believe in it long enough, it will one day speak back, not in words, but in results. Dreams rarely die in explosions. They don't collapse with noise or drama. They fade in silence, slowly suffocating under the weight of comfort, routine, and quiet compromise. They die the moment you tell yourself, one day. They weaken every time you trade vision for approval, purpose for safety, truth for convenience. Not because you lack talent, but because repetition without belief drains the soul. Napoleon Hill warned that drifting is the most dangerous habit a human can develop. To drift is to exist without intention, to wake without a target, to move without direction. And drifting doesn't feel like failure, it feels normal. That's why it's so deadly. Most people don't abandon their dreams all at once. They negotiate them away in small, harmless-looking decisions. They stop guarding their thoughts. They stop feeding their faith. They stop acting as if their future matters now. But a dream kept alive does something different inside you. It demands discipline when motivation disappears. It forces clarity when excuses whisper. It asks you to grow into the person capable of holding it. You keep a dream alive by refusing to let circumstances define your identity. By deciding, once and for all, that your inner world is sacred territory. By understanding that belief is not a feeling, but a practiced loyalty to a vision unseen. History remembers those who stayed faithful when nothing proved them right. Lincoln lost elections before he won a nation. Edison failed thousands of times before he lit the world. They didn't survive on hope. They survived on definiteness of purpose. And now, the question is no longer why dreams die. The question is whether yours will live. Because the moment you choose clarity over comfort, discipline over delay, belief over doubt, your dream stops being fragile. It becomes inevitable.